Hello, world. Thank you for joining us with today Two Grumpy Old Men podcast. My name is Tim Bagwell, and the other grumpy old man is, hello.
Rich Carling. Hello.
Hey, Rich. What are we talking about today? Weren't we talking something about what's going on with redistricting or something?
Yeah, yeah. There's been lot of lot of news out there, and apparently it's starting a political fight between the Republicans and the Democrats because the Republicans decided that they wanted to redistrict in the middle of the decade Texas, and what they
Yes.
wanted to do was to add five more seats. And so they were willing to gerrymander the entire state of Texas and add five more seats on there before the next, the decennial um, census.
Yeah.
That,
And by
tri-
add, you mean add Republican seats? They have the
yeah,
same number
bad
of seats.
Republican.
They're
Well,
taking them from the
what they hope would
Democrats.
be Republican seats,
Yes.
and I say that, and we'll show you later on why that doesn't always necessarily work. I always find that quite interesting, and it's funny. See, back in 1911, Congress capped the number of House seats at 435. So back then, each representative served about roughly 211,000 people. Well, country's grown quite a bit since that time, so that today each representative represents nearly 800,000 people.
All right. All
All
right.
right, I mean, we went from 95 million people back in 1911 to what do we got, like around 350 million people today,
Right.
but in the meantime, the number of seats is still stuck back in 1911. So I guess if one thing in my looking up, I kept thinking to myself, well, something, if you want to romanticize going back to the good old days, why don't we go back to 1911 and use that ratio to determine the number of seats we need in the House of
Right.
Representatives. Now, Tim, I know you came up with some interesting data on this.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, there's a formula out there. I went looking for the formula again. I think it was somewhere in the Times or something like
There's
New York
been a
Times.
bunch of different formulas,
Yeah, a bunch of
since the start of the
different
country.
formulas. Right, right,
Yeah.
and one of them was and I have it in my browser here somewhere.
Well, I know.
The
Just so people know a little bit of context in here, just so people know, Alexander Hamilton had a formula, Thomas Jefferson had a formula, Daniel Webster had a formula, and by the way, that's the one I think we kind of currently use is Daniel Webster's formula, and a lot of it really gets down to fractions of numbers, and so a big question I had read at least was, you know, if we've got, let's say, two like 80.7.32 million people, whatever the heck the number would be, okay, but it's a fraction of a number. How do you determine which way to go with that fraction? Do you do it traditionally, which is that if it's above zero point 0.5 you round up, or if it's below zero point 0.5 you round down? And there's always been a big argument over those two.
right, 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 and the way it's worked out is some states are so small in population, they only get one congressman, one
That's right.
representative.
That's right.
That's right. And
Well,
yeah,
I guess each state is
and
guaranteed at least one, according to
yes,
the Constitution.
yes, and so if you're below the what would be the standard allotment, you get that congressman regardless. But you have to really gain a lot of population to get two.
Yes,
To get the-
yes, you do. Well,
yeah,
if they're representing 800,000, you know, that'll really go nuts on you. and, uh, and I feel sorry
yeah.
for the poor
So
congressperson because, I mean, think about that. You've got 800,000 constituents. It's like, my God, that's, there's, it really is time to restore proportional representation, and we should, perhaps we need to
wait, didn't
expand
you
the
have
House.
some? Didn't you have some fun numbers you were working with? There were some starting with the 200,000, 200 some
Oh,
thousand. You had it. Yeah.
here's what would happen if we restored, if we restored, let's say we used the 1911 ratio, okay, that number there. Or, tell you what, instead, let's do 500,000 as a number, okay? And if we did that, that would mean we would add 130 seats to the House of Representatives. So if you divvied it up, according to this, Texas, for instance, would go from 38 seats to 52, so that's a gain of 14. All right, Florida would go from 28 to 39, that's a gain of 11. California would go from 52 to 63 seats, that's a gain of 11. Georgia would go from 14 to 20 seats, that's a gain of 6. And Illinois would go from 17 to 23, which is, again, a gain of 6 seats. And that, so, but what you get in the end is that you get, more districts, more seats, more local accountability. Okay, smaller districts means better constituent services, hopefully, and a fairer map could possibly mean stronger democracy. But it all depends on how it's divvied up too. If you're going to do like Texas is doing, then they're not doing it very fairly, in that. And
well, with the smaller districts, it actually I think becomes harder because
So-
you can't stretch, you can't stretch as far. Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I had to switch to the laptop this morning because of technical difficulties, and I'm leaning back.
yeah. You may have to talk a little bit louder, but that's okay.
Yeah. So I want to point out too that one of the things this affects that people forget about is the size of the electoral college. Each of those new seats represents another vote in the electoral college.
Right,
Right,
exactly,
which-
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, just so,
And-
people may not understand that the way the Electoral College is made up of the total number of congressional seats, which includes the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate.
Correct. So that would change that apportionment as such too, and that may have some interesting impacts. I saw one YouTuber talking about how it would all work out fair for all parties, which I don't believe that's true. I think that it would work out poorly for the Republicans because the urban areas would be the ones gaining the most seats.
Actually,
And,
it would probably work out. Well, let's put it this way: this current round of redistricting that they want to do would actually work out better for the Republicans in the short term. And the biggest reason being is that even though the Democrats can match them seat for seat, in a variety of states, the problem that the Democrats run into is that California, for instance, it's all done by a commission. All right, and they actually have the California legislature. What did they just do? They just approved a redistricting map, and now it has to go to the voters. Where Texas, they don't have to do all of that. Okay, so that could be a hurdle we have to overcome, and that even
but,
doing this.
I think they're confident. They're confident after the occupation of L.A.
Yeah, yeah. And
to
DC.
turn out that vote, despite the National Guard standing outside the polling places, no doubt.
Right, right, and they want to do the same thing, of course, with Chicago, and other big cities, where crime is down, but hey, we're going to occupy it anyway because it's all a show.
It's all a show until someone
But here's,
gets hurt.
and with what you're mentioning, I mean, that's just one form of blocking this whole thing, you have to. People look at this and go, okay, we're going to agree, we're going to have more politicians in there. Oh boy, but this isn't. It's not just a numbers game, folks. It's a power shift, okay? Because right now what happens is that if we do this, if we increase the size of the House of Representatives, first off, it's going to dilute elite influence, okay?
Yes.
It's going to strengthen worker representation. It makes gerrymandering even harder to do. And it brings Congress closer to the people, which is where it's supposed to be. You have to remember the Founding Fathers said that the House of Representatives was the people's house.
Exactly.
Well, right now it's not so much the people's house,
Exactly.
But here's why it isn't happening. Here's why it isn't happening is one, incumbents don't want the competition. Parties fear losing control. And the public hasn't demanded it yet because they've got it so that they all listen to the old Ronald Reagan thing of, Washington is the problem. Too many politicians, yada, yada, yada. Well, the biggest reason why all this is happening and why it is that Washington is a problem is because of the fact that we've sat at 435 for so long.
And they made that change, and quietly they have kept it secret.
Yes,
That
yes,
it's just a law. It is
yeah.
not a constitution. It's not in the Constitution. It's simply a law that could be redone. The parties want to hold on to power, and they like the idea of only playing with 435 chips across 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game that's more easily managed um, uh, by both parties, and I say both because this may also the increase in number may also open up the possibility of other parties, because it's easier for a focus party to gain a few seats. And
Mm-hmm.
we might look more like Europe in this regard, and there could be occasions when the other big parties have to come to the little parties
Yeah, yeah,
for their votes.
yeah.
That kind of happens already in the House, but this would be more distinctive, I think.
Yeah.
But we're a long ways from that.
Yeah, oh,
American
yeah.
Academy of Arts and Sciences had a formula close to yours. They came up with, I think it was 159, excuse me, 149 seats, I believe. Around 149, just so I'm not misquoting them. But it's close to that. I would add in the future 3 from Puerto Rico and 1 from the District of Columbia.
Just doing it now without increasing the size of the house. Okay, if you did the DC and Puerto Rico, and heck, while we're at it, let's add Guam to the picture and all that. And the Republicans, of course, don't want that to happen because they know that those 3 locations would go Democratic.
Well, I would argue with you there that Guam and American Samoa are centers for military recruitment, and they've tended to be they've tended to vote Republican, believe it or not.
Really?
Unbelievable.
No.
Yeah. So we'll throw them a bone. They can have maybe a configuration of Pacific Island territories that is a singular state, and because I don't know if I think Guam.
Well, something. Guam and American Samoa may change their mind because Republicans aren't doing a whole hell of a lot, when it comes to climate change. And as the seas rise, you can be a sure bet as to which side they'll take as a result.
Here, and I'll get you. No, guess what?
What?
Sorry, Guam. Guam ain't quite the about 168,000.
Oh, so they wouldn't be big enough to. Yeah, they can't even become a state.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
No. So if we just say they could have one, because states have had less than the usual amount,
Right.
the allotted amount, So
What is it?
Yeah.
What
So
what is the
Pacific
amount?
Island
The allotted amount is
territory.
what, like 500,000 or something like that? I
So
believe
what?
it's. I think the allotted amount to be a state is 500,000 because Wyoming itself, its population is like a little over 500,000.
No, I think originally it was 50,000.
Oh,
50,000 to be a state. To be
then
a
Guam
state.
would qualify. What? Oh, here, hang on, let me ask. Just for grins.
Too many numbers, man. Too many numbers.
Oh, I hear you. Let's see. According to the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, historically you're close, 60,000.
60,000. Okay.
But that's by the way, that 1787 ordinance, the Northwest Ordinance said it had to be 60,000 free inhabitants. Oh my God! Because remember part of the electoral college thing.
I think were women considered free in that? Probably. I think they were counted
Well,
as free.
but they probably said free men, and all that, and then of course later
And
on,
that's really
yeah,
So
yeah, and all that.
actually, it's opened up a little bit more. So yeah, it's just the way they were acquired is more the problem. So and Guam remains an interesting outlier as to the Pacific Islands territory. But the French do this too. I mean, the French, most of the populated French islands of the Caribbean are departments, in France, of France.
Oh yeah,
they're
yeah,
equal.
we got part of the Virgin Islands too. Yeah, look at that. But see,
Yeah,
again, the Republicans are afraid of all of this because of the fact that they would lose their majorities, in the Senate and the House,
right.
in that. And quite honestly, I would much rather that they lose their majority in the House and in the Senate. Talking
2000,
about,
we were on the Guam. Yeah. So and the
okay,
Republicans, well, they would also hate the fact that when we study American, so this huge thing. I know we're trailing off here a little bit, but kind of relevant to admission to new states, and that's when you and I study. When almost every American kid growing up in the United States studied was Jamestown and Plymouth.
yeah,
Okay. Well, guess what? San Juan would enter the picture
right,
as it is actually it would become the first year in the history of the United States with the admission of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, I'm not sure if San Juan was the founding community, but Puerto Rico was the first site of European settlement in the new United States that is inclusive of Puerto Rico as a state. So all that would change,
yes.
and I'm sure the Republicans would. Well, I'm not going to say what they would do with the brick, but they
But,
but it would be like a brick to them.
oh yeah,
It would be a flipping of whatever they're trying to do now. This redefining the culture, trying to get the votes any way they can by destroying the culture.
right,
So yeah, we're trailing off there a little bit. I'm sorry.
okay,
But yeah, so up to 150 or 154, and then it would be interesting to see what the maps look like. It would be interesting to see what that distribution would look like. I wish somebody would run that map, would run that logical map based on the population as determined by the census of people residing in the state. Not just, all peoples, foreign and domestic. And see what that map would look, that national map would look like. And it would change the thing about this, it likely changes the electoral college to the point where it's kind of it would seem, the electoral college would seem to be more consistent with the people if we weren't messing with the numbers from, if we didn't have the 1911 numbers.
uh-huh,
If we had the bigger number, the electoral college, because they froze the electoral college when they did that.
that's right,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
they froze that, and
Yeah, they froze. Well, yeah, they froze the number of representatives, and they froze the electoral college as a result. And that,
yeah,
and if we actually used those numbers from 1911, we would have, what is it? We would have something around the number of 1,600 representatives, in the House of Representatives. And wow, but again, what I would rather do, what I would rather see, is that the people realize, the bill of goods that they've been sold by Donald Trump and the Republicans, and just
yes,
turn around. See, just because they gerrymander the districts, yeah, they're looking at people who vote more conservatively, who vote Republican or who vote Democrat, and they're trying to, wiggle through there and make districts that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Okay, and
right,
I mean, we saw what they did with I think it was either Memphis or Nashville in Tennessee, and because it was surrounded by Republican districts, they took blue, the blue city, and basically wiggled their fingers into it so that it divided up and diluted that vote there. Now, just because they do that, though, doesn't mean success. I'll give you an example of Lake County, Illinois, where I live. Okay, back in 2010, with the census, it was controlled by the Republicans. It was considered to be a red county. Okay, and so they divvied up the districts so that it was favorable to them, in the county. And by 2016, the county was turning blue. By 2018, we controlled the county board, and the Democrats controlled all of the countywide seats. the countywide offices, being sheriff, state's attorney, county clerk, circuit court clerk, etc. Okay, and all this. And then that was with the Republican drawn districts. Then, of course, in 2020, now the Democrats could draw up the districts, and they actually increased the size of the county board by 4 members. Okay, meaning they had 4 new districts by the way they redrew it. Okay, and we still won it. All right, because people were tired of the Republicans' message. It wasn't doing anything for them. And I think the same thing's going to happen here. It doesn't matter. It's all in the message, folks. It's all in the message. And the message you're getting is that they don't give a damn about you.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, read Project 2025. In fact, you're going to see some blog posts from me that discuss how the Project 2025 impacts the middle class, impacts the working man out there, the working woman out there, Joe Sixpack in the corner, and that, and so that, because of that, that's why they can redistrict all they want, but if their message sucks, guess
well,
what?
I don't know if you thought, I don't know if that was what you're going to discuss when you mentioned how the outcomes don't always work out the way you think it's going to. But Texas apparently, when they redrew those, may have made at least 10 of the Republican districts more vulnerable.
Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah. Or at least maybe for 3 for sure. So it should be that they may only get 3. I think that was what I had seen. But they may only get 3 of those districts that they redid.
Right.
So it's yeah. And I think the mistake in California is that the districts will go Democrat that Newsom and the people of California are putting forward. And they are pissed about LA.
Yeah.
They're pissed at the occupation.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. And the thing is that Trump and company, and his minions, they all know that people are getting pissed off about what they're doing. They also knew, and I believe they said this in Project 2025. They knew they only had 2 years in which to implement this thing. Okay, and so because they know it's going to be tougher to unwind it, and in the meantime, they wanted to come up with ways to be able to stymie any kind of change after they've implemented their change, which is why the courts are the way that they are, and that where they you had Turtlehead, Mitch McConnell. Okay.
I thought you were talking about a location in the shore of Massachusetts.
No. Turtlehead is near Myrtle Beach and stuff.
Yeah.
But no,
Turtlehead, Kentucky, isn't it?
Yeah, well, his whole thing was to make sure that they packed the courts, so that this way here, any kind of change that the Democrats would try to make once they got back into power, they could sue and stop in the courts, and in particular when it reached the Supreme Court. Well,
but they were more successful at the Supreme Court though apparently than they were at the lower courts. The
lower
courts have still, except there's a couple of them like Judge Cannon, that kind of person.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? How they suddenly found out that, wow, something, I got a lifetime membership here. And nobody can take me out of it unless I do something really stupid. Exactly. And all that. And it's amazing how you can change your mind.
Here's a prediction of the week is that as more of the Epstein files come out, so the next Chicago will be the distraction from the Epstein files, or the attempted distraction.
Yeah, right.
But they're in for a big surprise, I think, when they get to Chicago. I think they're in for a huge surprise, and earlier I know that Pritzker gave a phenomenal press conference yesterday with leadership from the state and from the city and the communities, of Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fantastic. He attacked Trump and told Trump to stay out of Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
and the people told Trump to stay out of Illinois, but he wants to go there because it's a killing field.
Yeah.
It's like, what would you know about killing? What what would a bone spur guy know about killing fields?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tammy,
So
Senator Duckworth said that one. She has just dumped on him left and right about that. Cut up bone spurs.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
and
Yeah.
doesn't it puzzle you how it is that the guys in the military can sit there and support somebody like him who basically dumps on them, calls them fools for being in the military in the first place. I mean, these are people who put everything aside to protect our country, to protect the right for you and I to do what we're doing right now.
Well, they haven't been fully tested yet in terms of their loyalty. I think there are some that are not pro-Trump. I know there were back when uh, oh God, the Marine with Reagan, was it Norton? What was his name?
Oliver North.
Oliver North. Thank
There
you,
we go.
Oliver North.
Yes.
There were Marines. I knew Marines who despised the man. All right, because he was just not Marine. Marine culture, Marine values.
All right.
Right. So hopefully there are still people out there. Once they're given live ammunition, I wonder that's when when push comes to shove. That what will they do?
Well,
And,
when I was working at the naval base, Great Lakes Naval Base, I was a contract programmer there for them, for 7 or 8 years. And one of the things that I learned from a lot of the officers who I did work for the admiral, who was basically my direct boss, and that even though I went through a contract company, and that I was one of the few civilians on base who basically I had to take my orders from the admiral, and whoever she assigned to me, kind of thing, and so. But one of the things I learned was that there was a lot of when you get down to it, they drill this into your head. Your total loyalty is to the U.S. Constitution and to the chain of command. And one of the things they drill in your head is that if an order is unlawful, you do not have to obey it. And they drill that into their heads. And I was just amazed with that. And these guys are practice that to a T, and that's
practice, but the application.
well,
Remains to
no,
be
I mean,
seen.
maybe practice was the wrong word, but I just get the sense that I can, there's a lot more of, as you suggested, there's a lot more of them out there who value the Constitution over anything else.
Well, I wonder. Okay, so he sent. It was essentially he sent the California Guard into Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and so he would be sending, assumably, the Illinois Guard into Los Angeles, into Chicago. So I'm just curious about. I'm curious on the ground, and we haven't heard much from these guys. I heard one report that that there were hotline calls from Marines and Guard. They were concerned about their role. They were concerned. They were conflicted
Can you?
about what might happen. About what they were supposed to do, and I think clarity of mission is one of the things. They're just there to disrupt. They don't know that their presence is disruptive, and that's what his thing is. Are you giving me
Right.
hints here to move correctly?
Yeah. So I guess we're going to see how this all pans out, soon. So Tim, we're running out of time here.
All right.
Okay, Annette, and so why don't you wrap it up for us?
Well, my name's Tim Bagwell. This has been the Two Grumpy Old Men podcast, and I'm here with
Rich Carling.
Rich Carling. I'd like to say, push for more representation.
Yes.
However it may be.
Exactly. Let's do that. All right. Thanks, folks. Have yourself a wonderful day.